Hello again and welcome to the 284th consecutive program called Forum for a Better Understanding. I am so glad today that we have a topic that deserves a better understanding, and that would be the experience of the Japanese American community in this country, and especially on the West Coast during World War II. What we're going to be visiting with today is a panel of community members who are very involved in a very important project to be celebrated here in Fresno on the 21st of February, coming right up. I'd like to begin by introducing my three guests who are here to share about something they have been personally involved in and very, very much committed to for a long time. First, we have the Reverend Sab Masada, a retired Presbyterian pastor and former internee at the Fresno Assembly Center in 1942, who later with his family was taken to other concentration, or as they were called later, relocation camps in this country. Thank you, Sab, for being here today. To my side over here, we have Kerry Nakagawa, who happens to be a very wonderful filmmaker and someone who is able to tell us perhaps about the award that he will be receiving at the dinner on the 21st. And finally, across from me is Bob Shintaku, who is also very much involved in this committee and setting up this event that we are talking about during this whole program. Sab and Kerry and Bob, so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Jim.
Could you begin, Sab, by telling us in a word the importance of this event that we are celebrating, that we are remembering in this community on the 21st of February?
Well, first of all, Jim, thank you for featuring us on your wonderful program.
Very welcome.
That's a wonderful honor. And I'm grateful for the Fresno Assembly Center Memorial Upgrade Committee for its dedication and their efforts to help highlight the remembrance of our beloved nation's most shameful violation of our Constitution. George Santayana's quote bears repeating: "Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it." 5,344 loyal Americans and loyal legal resident aliens were imprisoned at our Fresno Fairgrounds in 1942 because they were profiled as enemies. And many Americans still do not know that 120,000 loyal Americans and loyal resident aliens of Japanese ancestry were imprisoned in America's concentration camps after Pearl Harbor was bombed by Japan. And they were there for up to 4 years. Also, most of us Americans do not know that, again, 60 years later, Sikhs, Muslims, Arabs, South Asians were profiled, and hundreds were rounded up. Many were attacked, and some even murdered, without any justification following the tragedy of 9/11. When will we ever learn our faith was our only crime? And our faith is not a crime, it's a gift from God. When will we ever learn this? At least not until we overcome our ignorance of one another, and not until we keep remembering and learning from our past crimes. This is the significance and the necessity and the purpose of this event that we'll be talking about today, scheduled in February.
Thank you, Sab. Kerry.
I think, Jim, for myself, and number one, I'm very honored to be part of the distinguished panelists that will be part of this dinner, and to be able to share the panel with Jim Costa and Judge Anthony Ishii. Again, I just feel very honored to be part of this whole situation. And for me, as a filmmaker, a producer, historian, and involved with education, I think the most poignant is to really realize that this was only West Coast Japanese Americans in California, Oregon, and Washington that were affected. And that still, to this day, 70% of this country is still unaware of Japanese American internment. So through my multimedia aspects as a multimedia person, an exhibit, a documentary, a book, a curriculums, and our film, We're just hoping to tell this story so that other diverse audiences will gain an appreciation of their civil liberties and how important it is not only to be in the greatest country in the world, America, but also to realize that all us immigrants, all our ancestors suffered and sacrificed tremendous hardships to have such a great opportunity in this world to succeed today. So I think that's my point, is to just make awareness that it is a hidden legacy and a missing chapter in American history that should be addressed.
Definitely needs to be. Bob, you were one of the interned. Can you tell us anything about how important that is?
Yes, I agree with Kerry that most people don't know about the internment. I had a funny experience at the golf course. I was golfing with a couple of people, and we were talking about our background and so forth. And I said, well, I was born on an Indian reservation, Colorado River Indian Reservation in Arizona. And he looks at me and he says, well, you know, Indian culture is really interesting. And he goes on and on. He apparently thought I was an American Indian. And I didn't have the heart to embarrass him and say, you know, so I did not tell him what happened. But he was from Montana, and he had no idea. I spoke to somebody in Bakersfield not too long ago, and he was a younger man, and he had no idea that the internment happened. So having events like this and having the memorial that we're putting up upgraded to tell a story is really important.
Now, one thing is a picture tells 1,000 words. So why don't we show Greg the beginning of that first clip. We're going to run some little clips, have you fellas talk over. This is what happened at the camps.
This is the more of the cultural aspects, Jim, of the Obon dancing. The irony was that, you know, they took everything away that was American for Americans, the religion, the native tongue, your homes, your businesses, your college education, yet you were able to kind of keep some of the cultural aspects like dance, music, sport. So I'm sure that was pretty ironic to Saab as well.
Now, one thing that Saab wants to comment upon is the next clip, which shows something that we may not understand, just how embarrassing and difficult this experience would be.
Now, looking at the clip, you may not understand what it's all about, but soon after we were put into the Fresno Fairgrounds, the adults immediately started organizing classes, school, government, self-government, and they put on a talent show at the fairgrounds. We sat in the bleachers, and in front of the bleachers was this large stage, and they put about 6 or 8 chairs, and one by one, people came to sit down like that. And except for the last chair, no one dared sit on that. And then every 2 minutes or so, they would all jump up and then gingerly sit down again. And we all howled because we knew what they were pantomiming. The toilets had these holes, and at one end was a large tank that when it filled up, it tipped over to wash the refuse down. And the last hole, often the water would splash up. And so we got a big bang out of their pantomiming that, but there was no secret as to what it was about.
Now, one other thing that's no secret is the connection of Japanese community with American baseball, or with baseball, let's say with baseball. My own Red Sox could not function without Daisuke and without Hideki Okajima. We just wouldn't play. So can you tell us, Kerry, on the next clip, how important baseball is?
Well, the first image was the Fresno Assembly Center champions, and then most of the Fresno Assembly Center members, the line of demarcation was the 99 highway. So if you lived on the east side, you went to Arizona. If you lived on the west side, you went to Arkansas. So the footage that you just saw was actual camp footage of them playing baseball at Arkansas, and a friend of ours, Moon Karima, actually threw a 6-0 shutout against Arkansas A&M. So it was amazing to think that these ball players could ironically keep the all-American pastime alive even from within barbed wire. And then most of these a lot of the ball players went on to volunteer to fight for our country, even though their own families were incarcerated. So baseball was kind of an outlet for self-esteem, health promotion, and truly forged everybody as internees and ball players together, because this was something that their immigrant ancestors brought to this country. And once you got inside the lines, it was a universal language. Outside the lines, things were a little bit more blurrier.
I'm so excited to think that not only are you here as the honoree who will receive the Spirit of Education Award on February 21st, but there is this wonderful DVD of the film that you produced, and we're going to be wanting people to know that we'll be airing it, God willing, here at Channel 49. So congratulations for the way that the community has given back in spite of all these burdens that were put on them during the 40s, a very awful part in our history. I wonder if the next clip you could run, Greg, might give us a chance, whoever can comment on it. What's going on in the next clip about this wonderful artist, Henry Sugimoto?
Henry's from Hanford. He came from Japan, but he settled in Hanford, and he's quite a professional artist. And here in Fresno Assembly Center, he taught an art class. And when he went to Jerome, as many of us went to Jerome concentration camp in Arkansas, he was my art teacher in the camp. But of course, I have to say, I was there. I wasn't an art student. I was just there.
Oh, but you're an artist.
He's being modest.
Now, one thing we should do, if we can do it quickly, is put up the clip that shows us the details of when this event is going to occur. This is going to be on February 21st.
The Fresno Assembly Center Memorial Upgrade Project is sponsoring the Day of Remembrance event on the 21st of February. It's going to be at 4:30. We'll have a groundbreaking for the upgrade at the Commerce Building, where the present marker is, the state monument. And then at 6 p.m. we'll have a dinner at the Education Building. If you are interested, please call 298-7379.
Thank you very much. We're going to be taking a break now and be back with some other panelists, so please don't go away.
KNXT thanks all its loyal viewers and respected businesses who have supported your Catholic television station. Now you can support KNXT with program underwriting by having your name, your company's name, or organization associated with your favorite program. Detailed information about you or your company will appear before and after each program or day part you select. Keep the quality and spiritual message alive and make a difference. Call 559-488-7440 today or go online at knxt.tv to find out more about program underwriting on KNXT.
Welcome back. Our topic today is the Fresno Assembly Center's Memorial Upgrade Project and its Day of Remembrance dinner and groundbreaking. Now joining us, we have two new guests. Across from me is Paul Saito, who is the Fresno Assembly Center Memorial Landscape Architect, and we're going to be looking at some of the beautiful work that he has designed. And to his side is Elizabeth Laval, whom most of us in Fresno know as Pop Laval's great-granddaughter, who is the director and the curator of Pop Laval's Foundation, a wonderful legacy that he gives us over and over. We can see pictures, which we're going to see today, thanks to Elizabeth. Paul, I wonder if you could begin by introducing us to your own work for this project. It goes back 20 years, and we have some pictures for you to use. Tell us about the Memorial Project.
Well, it was back in 1991 when we were first asked to participate in the design of the memorial at the fairgrounds. And so a committee, including Dale Ikeda, who is also involved with the Pinedale and this project as the chairman, was involved in that project also. And we were able to get donations. We didn't have any money at the time, and we didn't have any way of raising funds, so we had a lot of people donating their time and materials to build this project. And we also had the involvement of Sharon Levy, who donated the symbolic boulder that represented Fresno. as part of the fountain that you see well, you don't see in this picture because this is in the original picture. And then the state memorial the historic memorial plaque was also installed at that time. And then just recently, the fair director, John Alkire, was able to involve us into restructuring it because a lot of the original displays were deteriorating and were falling apart. And so we felt that he needed to have an upgrade. And so Dale Ikeda and those on the Pinedale Committee, including Elizabeth and Saab and all these others, got together and formed this new committee. And now we're in the process of redesigning it and redeveloping it. So hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have it up and ready for display for the next fair.
Now, speaking of the fairgrounds and the history of this, we have Elizabeth, who I think right now could walk us through, with Paul's help, a wonderful clip of something that she compiled using Pop Laval's fantastic photos. Elizabeth, can you walk us through your project?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm very honored to be part of this committee because, you know, it's very nice for the group to come out of their own Japanese American community and start to come into ours. And so 2 years ago at the Day of Remembrance dinner, we put together this video. Now, this was the fair at our current fairgrounds held in 1941. You see all the beautiful shiny cars, how amazing it was for people. October 1941, literally just 2 months prior to Pearl Harbor. And so all of these folks that were at the fair enjoying this entertainment had no idea, literally, what was coming down upon them within a couple of months. Now you're going to see all of a sudden the fairgrounds. Now these were taken by Pop Laval in February of 1942, just a couple of months after World War II started, but you can see the Army is reconfiguring the fairgrounds to become an internment camp. And a lot of the folks that were from Fresno County were sent to the Fresno Assembly Center. Many of the folks at Pinedale, in fact, the vast majority were not from Fresno County. They were from Sacramento and Oregon and Washington. But our Fresno County Japanese Americans, look at these headlines from the Bee. You can see the FBI rounding up Valley Japanese, and Pinedale was also getting ready a camp set for aliens. Now that just seems like a word that we would never even use in relation to what was happening. And the Army was really the only place that was allowed to take photos. So Pop was not allowed into the camp, but every day leading up to this evacuation, which started in June of 1942, these types of things were printed in our newspaper. These are in our own historical archives. And here you can see again, starting Sunday, this was all at the end of May, beginning of June. Really, they were told, these are the things you can do. You can take anything you can carry, and that's about it. So if you happen to have young children, you can see a photograph here from them. Japanese were rushing to register for evacuation. The head of the household was ordered to report, and then they started what they were calling an evacuation. And basically, most of their belongings were either left or sold. They were not allowed to ship them. And now you're seeing photos from the actual registration. You can see the heads of households signing up. They had to talk about the members of their family, and pretty much anything else was not to be brought. They couldn't ship mattresses. These were all things that we in Fresno County were reading in the paper. Now this, of course, wasn't imposed by people here in our area. This was something that came down. It's called Executive Order 9066. It was signed on February 19th, 1942. And basically acting on that order, General DeWitt ordered the exclusion of all persons of Japanese ancestry from Washington, Oregon, California, and the southern part of Arizona. Here you can see the map where the assembly centers were. And sadly, Fresno County was really the only place that had two such locations. The Fresno Assembly Center, which, as we've said, is on the fairgrounds, and also the Pinedale Assembly Center, which was on the grounds originally of the Sugar Pine Lumber Mill, and then later became Camp Pinedale. Now, one of the things that, of course, in the clips that we saw earlier, and you can see here, this is the fairgrounds. Now, take yourself back to the first clip of this at the fair with everyone laughing and smiling, and now 6 months later, literally, people were living in these barracks being guarded. And Paul was one of those people that was here, and I'd like to let him kind of take over from here and give his impressions on some of these photos that were shot by the U.S. Army.
Well, I wasn't in Fresno, but I was in Southern California, and we were sent to Santa Anita Racetrack, where we lived in horse stables for 5 or 6 months before being shipped off to the permanent camps in Rower, Arkansas. And I know Saab was in Jerome, and which was adjacent to Rower, and I think they closed Jerome and they brought him over to Rower after that camp was closed. But I do remember some of these photos where we had common bathrooms, and we had a common mess hall where we all went to eat together. And it was kind of unique to see yourself in the camps, and then you see barbed wire, and you see these guards up there in these towers ready to shoot you if you tried to get out of there. And so it was very traumatic.
One of the things that we like to show, though, and in the memorial that we're going to do at the Fresno Fairgrounds, the renovation, it's going to focus on Japanese Americans from Fresno County. The Pinedale Memorial really shows the national story from the beginning of World War II all the way through the stories of success, people who made it through. But this memorial will focus really on those from Fresno County. And here again, we see our artist picture. One of the things that we really like to talk about is the fact that there were people who helped those folks who were interned. In other words, from Reedley and Kingsburg and different areas where the Japanese were taken away so quickly, their neighbors actually tended their farms. They actually plowed the fields, sold the crops, put the money away so that at the end of World War II, when these folks were released back here, we're seeing a picture of Nori Masada. There he is today. He's, I think, 93 years old. He was also in the Fresno Assembly Center. And there are a few pictures in this clip of Pinedale, because this was an evacuation from Pinedale into one of the actual relocation camps. And you can see one of our most poignant photos that we've been able to accumulate. Imagine being a young boy. Paul, you lived it. Right. Here they are, not knowing what happened. One day they were at home, and the next, here they were. And this is one of the things that I really had to put in here. Evacuee ministers appreciate the care and hope to return. The American government did everything they could to make it seem like the internees were just dandy and happy with what happened, when in fact, clearly that wasn't the case. And many of the folks that left the Fresno area didn't return here. And those that did faced a lot of hardships, and in some cases they were surprised to find their neighbor. Paul's family was one of the first families to come back. Yes. And was featured in the newspaper, an article with him as a little boy coming in and returning home and trying to make a new life for themselves.
This is amazing. I think we've done other programs with Saab about this experience. But to see all the visual that you've been bringing in and the stories of the persons who were interned in various different camps, this has been mind-expanding, to say the least. Paul, is there anything personal you'd like to share, having that we've seen some of these images? Is there one you want to return to?
Well, I think we need to remember that this has to go on forever, because my daughter knows nothing about this internment. And so I want girls or boys like her to remember that this happened. And it's got to be in the history books. And I know the history books that I went to school did not have it. And so it has to be remembered that this really happened. And so I think this is really important that we have this memorial here in Fresno. And we have two, which we're lucky. And when I went to Santa Anita, they don't even have one. And there was 14,000 internees in Santa Anita. So it's someone has to carry on the message, and we're doing it here in Fresno.
Greg, can you put up the graphic again, inviting everyone to the event, and maybe you could comment upon the details?
Well, this will be at the fairgrounds at the Commerce Building. If you're there now, there is a memorial historical monument right on the corner of the building, and we're redesigning it to bring it out in front. We're going to be building more of a plaza area, and we'll have a couple planters and we'll have a fountain in the center, and then we're going to have, it's just going to be a complete restoration of that entire area.
Now, which of the pictures, Paul, would you like us to focus in on that you could walk us through?
Well, if you can look at the plot plan, which is that one across the way, you can see the actual area that's going to be developed outside of the corner of the building. You can see the corner of the building at the very top, that little V-shaped up there is the corner of the Commerce Building. As you look down below is where the development takes place. You'll see the pattern of the chrysanthemum logo in the center, and then you'll have the fountain, which you'll see in the center, and then you have two planters. As you see in the green are the actual planters. Those will be landscape with the Oriental theme, the Japanese theme. And then you'll have the storyboards, which you see there in the brown areas on the upper portions of the
Nice.
picture. And then you'll have some benches along that. So this will also have some, we'll have some, what do you call it, banners that will also show, depict the internment.
I want to thank all the panelists that were here today. We actually had 5 people who were able to share personally their commitment not only to what happened before, that we be mindful of it, but to an alternative vision for our country. And what was so important to remember, these events, tragic as they be, could be very educational. And we hope that because of the things you are learning today and because of connecting over this event on the 21st of February, it's a very major event for our community, and that means all of us. This is not just for Japanese Americans. In fact, it is for those that are saying, I didn't even know this happened, Jim. That's the ones we hope will be there. So please keep in touch, call the number that you saw listed, and call us at the station. Until next week, God bless.